At my 25th birthday gala, while I had my eyes closed making a wish, my best friend slapped me hard across the face 3 times. I stood frozen in shock, clutching my burning red cheek. Brooke raised her phone, filming me with a teasing laugh. They say if you slap your best friend 3 times, you get $10,000. Would you do it? I didn't hesitate for a single second. So, when is my 10 grand hitting my account? My boyfriend Tyler let out a soft laugh. He pulled out his phone and Venmo'd her on the spot. You actually believed that silly TikTok challenge? Well, since today is Chloe's birthday, I'll make your wish come true. After receiving the money, Brooke wrapped her arm around mine and smiled sweetly. Chloe babe, it was just a joke. You're not actually mad, right? A chill ran down my spine. I grabbed Brooke by her jaw, wound up my hand, and slapped her back 12 times in a row. Then I turned to my stunned boyfriend, smiling sweetly. That'll be $40,000 please. Tyler finally snapped out of it, looking at me like I was a monster. Chloe Henderson, she's your best friend. How could you hit her that hard? He immediately turned to Brooke, cupping her face to inspect the swelling. Brooke held her cheeks, tears streaming down her face uncontrollably. Chloe, we are done. I am never speaking to you again. With that, she ran out of the banquet hall, sobbing. Tyler shot me a furious glare before chasing after her. His look said it all. He was blaming me for ruining Brooke's mood. Today was my 25th birthday gala. Aside from my parents, who were currently in London on business, I had invited all my relatives. If things hadn't gone sideways, we were supposed to announce my engagement to Tyler right about now. But now, the groom-to-be was gone. My relatives sat in awkward silence, none of them daring to make eye contact with me. I took a deep breath and forced a polite smile. Everyone, thank you for coming. Initially, I wanted to use this party to announce my engagement to Tyler Vance, but that's no longer happening. The engagement is off. Please don't feel awkward. Eat, drink, and have fun. Today is still my birthday. Let's celebrate. The room fell dead silent for a second, followed by quiet whispers. But I didn't care. I sat back down at the head table, completely composed. Aunt Sarah was the first to speak up, smiling warmly. Well, Tyler clearly can't tell a diamond from a piece of glass. He was never good enough for you anyway. Uncle Frank chimed in immediately. Exactly. Chloe is the crown jewel of the Henderson family. Who does Tyler think he is? Your uncle will find you someone 10 times better. The guests laughed, and the tense atmosphere slowly warmed up. Near the end of the party, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a Snapchat message from Tyler. I managed to calm Brooke down. Come home, give her a proper apology, and we'll put this behind us. Expressionless, I locked my phone screen. Memories of our past flashed through my mind. I had always cherished my friendship with Brooke. I truly treated her like chosen family. But in the past, whenever we had a disagreement, she would give me the silent treatment until I bowed my head and apologized first. Over time, she got spoiled. She thought she could treat me however she wanted and make any offensive joke she pleased. If I didn't cater to her every whim, I was the bad guy. And after I started dating Tyler, things got even worse. At first, Tyler used to complain about Brooke, calling her a spoiled, dramatic brat. But later on, whenever Brooke and I argued, he stopped caring about who was right. He would always run to comfort Brooke first. Then he'd turn around and lecture me. Brooke is just sensitive. You have a better temper, so just let her have her way. I let her have her way, over and over again. I endured it for so long that I almost forgot who I really was. I am not a pushover. After the party ended, I went down to the parking garage alone to get my car. From a distance, I saw my sports car's headlights were on. Tyler was in the driver's seat. Brooke was lounging comfortably in the passenger seat, her bare legs stretched out on the dashboard, looking incredibly cozy. The two of them were leaning close, laughing and chatting. I walked up and tapped on the window. Hearing the sound, Brooke's smile instantly vanished. She pretended not to see me, staring straight ahead with her chin up, putting on quite the show. Tyler rolled down the window and frowned, signaling me with his eyes. Chloe, apologize to Brooke right now. You were completely in the wrong today. I crossed my arms and stayed silent. I wasn't the one who initiated the violence. Why should I be the one to apologize? Brooke lifted her chin even higher, her tone arrogant and dismissive, like I'd even care about her apology. My face remained blank. I'm not apologizing. Brooke froze, clearly shocked that the usually submissive me would talk back. She immediately turned to Tyler, whining poutily. Let's go. She's being impossible. You can't even reason with her. Tyler got out of the car, grabbed my arm, and dragged me to the side, his face full of impatience. What is wrong with you today? It's just a simple apology. Do you have any idea how soft-hearted Brooke is? She insisted on staying here to wait for you so we could go home together. She's giving you an easy way out. I violently yanked my hand back and said coldly, I don't need her charity. Hearing this, Brooke scoffed from inside the car and urged, Tyler, stop wasting your breath on her. Let's just leave. I didn't want to waste another second arguing. I marched over and threw open the passenger door. Get out. Brooke gasped, staring at me in disbelief. I looked down at her coldly. This is my car. If you two want to leave, figure it out yourselves. Brooke ended up crying as she scrambled out of the car. Brooke. Tyler tried to grab her hand, but she shook him off. He turned around to glare at me, but I didn't give him the chance. I slammed the door, stepped on the gas, and my sports car roared out of the parking garage, leaving them in the dust. In the rearview mirror, Tyler's face was a blank slate of shock. I didn't go straight home. I went to my family's office first. Today, I was supposed to sign and hand over a stock transfer agreement to Tyler right after the engagement announcement. It was a 10% share of the Henderson Group, a prenuptial gift my parents had prepared for me. The money wasn't a big deal to my family. My parents, who were often abroad, just wanted to make sure Tyler would treat me well for the rest of my life. In my office drawer, the brand new agreement was lying quietly. I took out a pen, crossed out every single clause, and signed my name to void it. Generosity is only valuable when given to someone who appreciates it. This heavy wedding gift had now turned into a useless piece of scrap paper. After handling the paperwork, I drove back to our shared apartment. I walked up to the front door and entered the passcode I knew by heart. The screen flashed. Asterisk incorrect passcode. I paused, tried twice more, but the result was the same. The passcode had been changed. I pulled out my phone and called Tyler. The next second, a familiar ringtone echoed from inside the apartment. It rang for barely a second before being hastily declined. Then, the smart doorbell screen lit up. Tyler's cold face appeared on the screen, but in the corner of the camera feed, I caught a glimpse of a white silk robe. I knew that robe too well. It was Brooke's signature loungewear. A cold smirk played on my lips. Open the door. Do I need to remind you whose name is on the deed? Chloe. Both of our names are on this property. I am a co-owner. I didn't argue. I just watched him play his pathetic game. This apartment was bought by Tyler's parents to make our commute easier, and they intended it to be our wedding home. Both of our names were registered on the title. After a tense silence, Tyler's tone softened slightly. Chloe, stop throwing a temper tantrum like a child. Apologize to Brooke and I'll let you in. You really disappointed her today. I looked at the white silk hem fluttering in the corner of the screen and suddenly laughed out loud. Tyler frowned. This is the second time Brooke has tried to make peace with you. Don't be ungrateful and keep acting crazy. I raised my phone to the camera and smiled mockingly. Oh, I can act much crazier than this. For instance, I could call your dad right now and cry to him. In fact, he just texted me wishing me a happy birthday. Tyler's face instantly went pale. Don't call him. The man who had been refusing to let me in just a second ago threw the door open in a panic. I brushed past him and walked straight inside. Hearing the door open, Brooke flinched. She didn't even dare to look me in the eye. Clutching her slippers, she bolted into the guest bedroom, slamming and locking the door behind her. Standing in the middle of the living room, staring at the locked door, a memory from a year ago flashed through my mind. Back then, we had just graduated from grad school. Brooke had no family in the city and couldn't find a decent place to live. When she was at her lowest, she showed up at my doorstep with her suitcase, crying her eyes out. She begged me to rent her my spare bedroom. My heart softened, and I agreed immediately. I charged her a symbolic rent of $500 a month. To protect her, we even signed a formal lease agreement. But for the past 6 months, she hadn't paid a single dime. Knowing her financial situation was tight, I never brought it up. Tyler finished his call and quickly stepped in front of me, blocking my path. Enough! Brooke got slapped so many times today. She cried all afternoon. She has suffered enough. Don't go in there to provoke her and hurt her more. I slowly looked up at him. At this moment, I had to admit my taste in men was utterly garbage. Otherwise, how could I have ended up with such a pathetic boyfriend and a toxic best friend? Ignoring Tyler, I went straight into the master bedroom to pack my things. Seeing me pull out my suitcase, Tyler began to panic. What are you doing? Why are you packing? I only asked you to apologize. I'm not kicking you out. I folded my shirts and packed them into the suitcase one by one. Tyler, don't you get it? I'm dumping you. Tyler froze, his pupils shrinking in disbelief. He stood there for a few seconds before letting out a nervous laugh, his eyes filled with arrogance. Chloe, stop playing games. Over a small argument? You're breaking up with me over this? He stepped forward, trying to grab my wrist. I've been patient enough with you. You were the one who resorted to violence today, and I didn't even hold it against you. Without looking up, I said calmly, a small argument? Tyler, on my 25th birthday, in front of my entire family, Brooke slapped me in the face for some cheap cash, and you happily Venmo'd her to cheer her on. And to you, that's just a small argument? Tyler choked on his words, his face turning red and white. Brooke, she's just immature. She loves playing around. She didn't mean any harm. Why do you have to be so stubborn? I finally stopped packing and looked him dead in the eye. She's immature, and what about you? When I was publicly humiliated, you didn't protect me. But the moment she sheds a few tears, your heart bleeds for her. Tyler, whose boyfriend are you anyway? Without a second of hesitation, Tyler replied, of course I'm your boyfriend. But didn't you tell me to look out for Brooke in the first place? I didn't answer him right away. While packing, I suddenly noticed that my designer mink coat, the one at the very back of the closet, was missing. My mom had bought it for me at a luxury auction in Paris last year. Because I rarely wore it, I kept it tucked away in the back. If you weren't looking for it, you wouldn't even know it was there. But now, after clearing out my clothes, that spot was completely empty. I spun around to face Tyler. Where is my mink coat? A flash of extreme guilt and panic crossed Tyler's face, but he quickly recovered, pretending to be nonchalant. Isn't it in the closet? Are you sure you didn't misplace it somewhere else? He stepped forward, wrapping his arms around me from behind. If it's lost, let it go. Don't be mad. I'll buy you the exact same one. Just stop talking about leaving and breaking up, okay? My body went completely rigid. A faint but familiar scent of gardenia perfume drifted into my nose. It was the perfume Brooke wore year-round. The scent was stuck to him, making my stomach churn with disgust. I pushed him away with all my might. Did Brooke take my coat? Tyler immediately frowned and defended her. No way. Stop making wild accusations. Whether it's a wild accusation or not, I'm going to check. I marched out of the master bedroom. As soon as I stepped out, I heard a sharp, panicked rustle of a door closing from Brooke's room. Clearly, she had been eavesdropping the entire time. I stood in front of her door, my tone flat, giving her one last chance to be civil. Open the door. After a few seconds of silence, the door cracked open slightly. Brooke peeked out with one teary eye, looking extremely guilty. Did you borrow my mink coat? I asked directly. Brooke instinctively looked at Tyler behind me. Tyler immediately softened his voice, trying to reassure her. It's okay, Brooke. If you took it, just bring it out. No one's going to get mad. With Tyler backing her up, Brooke suddenly found her courage. She turned and walked back into her room. I pushed the door fully open. The next second, my heart stopped. My $150,000 custom-made designer mink coat was casually laid out on the floor, right in front of her bathroom door, being used as a bath mat. The top-tier fur, which was supposed to be glossy and luxurious, was now gray, matted, and ruined. Several patches of fur had been rubbed completely bald, making it utterly unsalvageable. Brooke pinched the corner of the dirty coat with 2 fingers, looking disgusted, and tossed it toward me. Here's your coat. Take it. I didn't touch it. Instead, I pulled out my phone, opened the camera, and recorded a clear video of the ruined coat on the floor. I needed to preserve every bit of evidence. Seeing this, Tyler rushed forward to block my camera, shielding Brooke behind him. His tone was full of accusation. Chloe, what are you doing? It's just a coat. Why do you have to make such a big scene? I laughed out of sheer anger. Tyler, do you have any idea how much this coat costs? Brooke poked her head out from behind him, her chin tilted up defensively. Why are you being so stingy? It's just an old coat. You never even wear it. It was just sitting in your closet gathering dust. I thought you didn't want it anymore. What's wrong with using it as a mat? I raised an eyebrow, locking my cold gaze on her. You certainly have an eye for luxury. Out of dozens of coats in my closet, you managed to pick the most expensive one, a $150,000 designer piece, used as a bath mat. The moment the words $150,000 left my mouth, all the color drained from Brooke's face. She turned pale as a ghost. She clutched Tyler's sleeve, her voice trembling. Tyler, what do I do? I didn't know it was that expensive. Tyler patted her back gently to comfort her. Don't worry, I'm here. I watched their pathetic display in silence. Tyler pulled out a blank checkbook from his suit pocket and thrust a check in front of me. Chloe, it's just money. Write down whatever number you want. I'll pay for Brooke. Let's end this here and stop making things hard for her. I looked down at the blank check, finding it incredibly hilarious. I asked him, she ruined it. Why are you the one paying? Tyler furrowed his brows. What's the difference? My money, her money. It's all the same. Do you really have to be this petty over such a small thing? At that moment, I checked out completely. I took the check from his hand. Under their stunned gazes, I ripped it into shreds and let the pieces flutter to the floor. Before they could react, I dialed 91.
911, what is your emergency? I'd like to report a crime, I said, my voice steady and lethal. Someone has intentionally destroyed my personal property valued at $150,000, and I'm currently being unlawfully locked out of my own residence. Chloe, hang up the phone right now. Tyler lunged forward, trying to snatch my cell. I sidestepped him easily, wheeling my suitcase behind me. The suspect is Brooke Davis, and the accessory hiding her is Tyler Vance. My address is 454 Riverfront Drive, apartment 12B. Chloe, stop it, Brooke shrieked, sprinting out from behind Tyler. The mention of the police completely shattered her tearful victim routine. It's just a jacket, you're crazy. Tyler, make her stop. I've dispatched officers to your location, ma'am, the dispatcher replied calmly. Please stay in a safe place until they arrive. Thank you, I said and clicked end. Tyler stared at me as if I had just grown a second head. Are you insane? You're calling the cops on your best friend and your fiancé over a piece of clothing. I told you I'd write you a check. First off, you're not my fiancé, I said, taking a step closer to him until he had to tilt his head down to look at me. Second, you don't have $150,000 in liquid cash to write a check for Tyler. Your father controls your trust fund. If you write a check from your personal account, it will bounce higher than your ego. Tyler's jaw tightened. I had hit the mark. His family had money, but his dad kept him on a strict monthly allowance until he was officially married to a Henderson. And third, I turned my cold gaze to Brooke, who was cowering near the hallway wall. You owe 6 months of back rent at $500 a month. That's $3,000, plus $150,000 for grand larceny and property destruction. You have 20 minutes to figure out how you're going to explain this to the police. 2 officers arrived 15 minutes later. I presented the original Parisian auction invoice for the mink coat, my lease agreement with Brooke, the Snapchat video of her slapping me at the party, and the video I had just recorded of my ruined coat lying in front of her bathroom door. Mr. Vance, Ms. Davis, please step out into the living room, Officer Ramirez said, examining the matted, ruined fur. Ms. Henderson, since your name is on the deed and you have receipts proving sole ownership of the damaged property exceeding felony limits, we will be taking a statement. You can't arrest her, Tyler shouted, stepping between the officers and Brooke. Do you know who my father is? He's Richard Vance. I don't care if your father is the mayor, sir, the officer replied coldly, unhooking his handcuffs. Ms. Davis, hands behind your back. Brooke burst into hysterical sobs as the metal cuffs clicked around her wrists. Chloe, please tell them it was a joke. Tyler, help me, don't let them take me. Chloe, fix this right now or we are done forever. Tyler barked at me, his eyes bloodshot with rage. I picked up my purse and wheeled my suitcase toward the front door, stopping right beside him. We were done the second you let her slap me for 10 grand, Tyler. Enjoy explaining this to your dad. By 8 a.m. the next morning, I was sitting in the executive boardroom of Henderson Group headquarters. My parents had caught a red-eye flight back from London the moment I called them the night before. My mother, Elena Henderson, sat at the head of the table sipping espresso, looking like an icy queen. My father, Marcus, was packing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, scrolling through his tablet. Nerve of those little backstabbers, my mother murmured, her tone deceptively soft. To lay a hand on my daughter in front of our entire family. Dad, I said, sliding a folder across the sleek mahogany table. The Vance family business relies on our supply chain contract for 60% of their annual distribution, right? 65%, my father corrected, stopping his packing. He picked up the folder. And their current contract comes up for renewal at midnight tonight. Renew it, I said flatly. And terminate the joint venture on the downtown commercial development. Done, my dad replied without a second thought. In fact, I'll call Richard Vance right now. Before my father could dial, the boardroom doors flew open. Richard Vance, Tyler's father, marched in looking disheveled, his tie crooked. Tyler scrambled in right behind him, looking pale and terrified. Marcus, Elena, thank God you're back, Richard gasped, wiping sweat from his forehead. He practically dragged Tyler by the elbow toward us. I just found out what happened last night. Tyler, get on your knees and apologize to Chloe right now. Tyler looked mortified, but under his father's furious glare his knees buckled. He dropped onto the plush carpet in front of my chair. Chloe, I'm so sorry, Tyler stammered, his hands trembling. I was an idiot. Brooke manipulated me. She made me think it was all harmless fun. I swear I don't care about her. You're the only one I love. Looked down at him, feeling nothing but a profound sense of disgust. Get up, Tyler, you look pathetic. Chloe, please, Richard pleaded, stepping forward with his hands raised. Tyler spent the entire night at the precinct trying to bail Brooke out, but the police held her on felony charges because of the coat's value. I haven't put up a single cent of bail for that girl, I promise you. She's nothing to our families. Please don't cancel the distribution agreement. It will bankrupt us. You should have taught your son some loyalty, Richard, my mother said coldly, taking a sip of her coffee. He let a parasite humiliate my daughter on her birthday, paid her for it, and then let her ruin a $150,000 coat. Your family's morals are cheap, and so is your business. Uncle Richard, I said, leaning back in my chair. Your son threw away a 10% stake in the Henderson Group, a multi-million-dollar wedding home, and your family's financial security, all for a girl who wouldn't even hesitate to slap her best friend for $10,000. Chloe, I love you, Tyler cried, reaching out to touch my shoe, but I pulled my foot back. I'll cut Brooke off completely. I'll block her number. Just give me another chance. The contract is void, Richard, my father announced, dropping the papers into the paper shredder near his desk. The machine hummed as it chewed through the document. You have 24 hours to clear your inventory out of our warehouses. Richard Vance collapsed into a nearby chair, burying his face in his hands. Tyler stared at the shredder, his face drained of all colour as the reality of what he had destroyed finally crashed down on him. 3 weeks later, the courtroom was packed with reporters, local socialites, and my university acquaintances. Brooke's arrest had gone viral online after someone leaked the Snapchat video of the slapping incident, alongside the police mugshot of her sobbing in an orange jumpsuit. Brooke sat at the defense table, wearing a plain grey prison-issued sweater, her dark circles deep and her hair unwashed. Without her designer clothes and expensive makeup, which I had unknowingly subsidized over the years, she looked completely unremarkable. Her public defender stood up. Your Honor, my client acknowledges her mistake regarding the coat, but $150,000 is an exorbitant amount for an item of clothing. We believe the victim is inflating the value to ruin my client's life out of personal spite. I took the witness stand, wearing a tailored navy suit completely composed. My attorney handed me a tablet. Ms. Henderson, my attorney asked. Can you state for the record the exact origin and value of the item in question? It was a custom piece created by House of Sorbia, purchased at the 2025 Paris Autumn Gala for €135,000, equivalent to $150,000 USD. I replied calmly into the microphone. I have submitted the authenticated appraisal from the fashion house, the wire transfer receipt, and the customs import documentation. Did the defendant have permission to use this coat? No. She trespassed into my private walk-in closet, took it without my knowledge, and used it as a bath mat, deliberately ruining the pelts with bleach and dirty water. Brooke suddenly jumped out of her chair, tears spilling over her sunken cheeks. You did this on purpose, Chloe. You knew I was poor. You always held your money over my head. You pretended to be my friend, but you just wanted a footstool. Silence in the court. The judge slammed his gavel down sharply. Defendant Davis, sit down or I will hold you in contempt. She took everything from me. Brooke screamed, resisting her lawyer's frantic attempts to pull her down. Tyler dumped me. My landlord evicted me. I have nowhere to go. You're a monster, Chloe. I looked at her from the witness stand, my face deadpan. I gave you a home for $500 a month when you were sleeping in your car, Brooke, I said quietly, my voice carrying clearly through the silent courtroom. I paid for your meals, brought you on trips, and trusted you in my house. You slapped me in front of 50 people for $10,000 and used my prized possession as a rag. You ruined yourself. The judge slammed his gavel one last time. In light of the overwhelming physical evidence, the video footage, and the authenticated property value, I find the defendant, Brooke Davis, guilty of grand larceny in the first degree and criminal mischief. The sentence is set at 4 years in state prison, with full restitution of $153,000 to be paid to the victim upon release. Brooke collapsed to the floor, wailing as the bailiffs cuffed her ankles and led her away through the side door. I walked out of the courtroom without looking back once. A month after the trial, Vance Enterprises collapsed into bankruptcy. Without the Henderson distribution network, their suppliers pulled out one by one. News of Tyler's betrayal had circulated through every high society circle, making him an outcast. No respectable family would associate with him. I was having lunch with my Aunt Sarah and Uncle Frank at an outdoor cafe downtown when a shadowy figure approached our table. It was Tyler. He looked unkempt, wearing a wrinkled jacket, his hair greasy and dark circles beneath his hollow eyes. He held a large paper bag in his hands. Chloe, he choked out, his voice hoarse. Uncle Frank immediately stood up, blocking Tyler from coming any closer. Get lost, kid, you've got nerves showing your face around here. Frank, please, just 5 minutes, Tyler begged, tears brimming in his eyes. He looked at me with desperate, hollow eyes. Chloe, please, I brought you something. Set my napkin down on the table and signaled Uncle Frank to sit down. What do you want, Tyler? Tyler stepped closer, placing the paper bag on the table with trembling hands. I spent every dollar I had left. I sold my sports car, my watches, my apartment shares, everything. I bought this for you. He pulled out a brand new, glossy fur coat. It was nice, but it was an off-the-rack department store coat, maybe worth $3,000 or $4,000 at most. It's not the exact Paris one, Tyler stammered, trying to smile through his tears. But it's real fur. I bought it to replace the one Brooke ruined. Please, Chloe, my dad lost the company. My family is losing our house. My dad won't even look at me. If you just take me back, if you tell your dad to lift the blackball on our family. I'll do anything. I'll be the perfect husband. I swear it. I looked at the coat, then up at his pleading face. Do you remember what you told me in the parking garage, Tyler? I asked softly. Tyler blinked, confused. What? You told me that Brooke was giving me an easy way out and that I was being ungrateful, I said, a slow, icy smile spreading across my lips. You told me it was just a small argument. Chloe, I was wrong. You sacrificed your entire future and your family's business for a girl who used you to pay her bills, I said, picking up the cheap coat by 2 fingers, mimicking the exact way Brooke had held my ruined mink. I tossed it onto the dirty pavement right beside his scuffed shoes. Take your cheap coat and get out of my sight. You're blocking my son. Tyler stared at the coat lying in the dirt, then at me. The realization finally hit him that there was no coming back from this. He had traded gold for trash, and now he was left with nothing. He picked up the dirty coat, burst into tears, and stumbled down the street like a broken ghost. 6 months later, I had fully stepped into my role as vice president of the Henderson Group. Under my leadership, our expansion into European markets was booming, and my life had never been better or more peaceful. One Tuesday morning, my legal counsel handed me a document. Ms. Henderson, Brooke Davis's legal representative, has reached out regarding a settlement offer for her restitution payments. Since she has no assets, she's offering to sign over her trust inheritance rights from her late grandmother, worth roughly $12,000, if you agree to waive the remaining $141,000. No, I replied, signing my name at the bottom of a new acquisition contract. Tell her lawyer I want every single penny of the $153,000, even if it takes her 50 years of garnished wages after she gets out of prison. Understood. Oh, and how is Tyler doing? I asked casually, taking a sip of my iced tea. My lawyer smiled faintly. Tyler Vance was forced to take a job as an assistant property manager at one of your family's lower-end suburban apartment complexes. His father divorced his mother, sold their mansion to cover corporate debts, and moved to Florida alone. Tyler is currently living in a studio apartment in the complex he manages. How ironic, I murmured, leaning back in my leather executive chair. He used to love managing other people's problems. Now he gets paid minimum wage to do it. Later that evening, I drove my new custom red sports car through the city. I happened to stop at a red light right outside the riverfront apartment complex where Tyler and I used to live, the place where he had locked me out. Standing by the trash dumpsters in a high-vis vest, dragging heavy bags of garbage into the compactor, was Tyler. He looked exhausted, his back hunched, his hands covered in grime. He happened to look up as my engine roared. Through the tinted glass of my window, our eyes met. I rolled down the window just an inch, lowered my sunglasses and looked at him. He froze, holding a dripping trash bag, his face turning bright red with shame. He looked at my sleek car, my designer suit, and the effortless life I was living without him. I gave him a small, polite nod, the exact same dismissive smile I had given my birthday guests 6 months ago, rolled my window back up and stepped on the gas. It was my 26th birthday. Instead of a chaotic banquet hall with fake friends and opportunistic partners, my parents and close family hosted an intimate dinner at an exclusive rooftop restaurant overlooking the city skyline. Aunt Sarah raised her glass of champagne, smiling warmly across the table. To Chloe, a year ago you made a wish, and the universe cleared out all the trash in your life to make room for greatness. Here, Uncle Frank toasted, clinking his glass. The crown jewel of the Henderson family. My parents smiled proudly at me. I looked out over the sparkling city lights, holding my champagne flute. My phone buzzed on the table. It was a court update notification. Restitution payment #1 received. $45.20 from Brooke Davis, inmate wage deduction. I chuckled softly and flipped the phone face down. When the waiter brought out a stunning, multi-tiered crystal birthday cake with flickering candles, my mother leaned in. Make a wish, darling. I closed my eyes. A year ago, when my eyes were closed, I had been struck by betrayal, greed, and disrespect. I had been weak enough to let toxic people sit at my table and dictate my worth. This year, when I opened my eyes, I was completely surrounded by love, power, and respect. I didn't need to make a wish this time. Everything I wanted, I had already taken back. I blew out the candles, and as the table erupted into applause, I smiled, taking a slow sip of my champagne. Revenge wasn't just sweet, it was absolute.